I know. I said in the sign-off to the last episode that this episode would be about preferred pronouns and nomenclature, but there was so much to unpack there. So many ins and outs. It is quite a deep rabbit hole that I haven't finished it yet. But I did consult my oblique strategies cards, and Brian Eno's advised me that I should do something boring. He also said that I shouldn't be afraid of cliches. So there'll be a couple of those today as well. So come with me as we travel up the mighty Yarra River, or at least as far as is navigable, and savour some of the bucolic charms we discover along its banks. Now, Peter Robin is penned here at the Royal Victoria. Actually, I need a bigger map. Oh, here's one. Peter Robin's penned here at the Royal Yacht Club of Victoria in Williamstown, or rather Hobson's Bay. And as you can see, to the south lies Port Phillip Bay, or Nam Nam as the Kulin Nation call it. The bay covers 1,930 square kilometres, or 750 square miles, and contains over 266 billion litres of water, which is more than enough for a vessel of Peter Robin's size. Port Phillip Bay is so big it almost fills this entire map. Now normally when we're leaving the marina we turn to starboard and go out into the bay, but today we're departing from tradition and we turn to port to make our way up the river to Victoria's capital, Melbourne. Which is upside down in this shot and also called Nam. First up to the left you'll see the Newport Power Station, a gas-fired power plant which has operated since 1981 and can produce up to 510 megawatts of electricity. That smokestack is 183 metres tall, which means that Usain Bolt, whose best time in the 100 metres is 9.58 seconds, would take 17.72 seconds to run up it. Next up on our bow, the Westgate Bridge, the gateway to the west, and by dint of that, also the best escape route back out. On October 14, 1970, Australia's worst ever industrial accident occurred when the bridge collapsed while still under construction, killing 35 and injuring 18. A 112 metre span weighing 2,000 tonnes plummeted 50 metres into the Yarra. Royal Commission findings into the cause of the accident paved the way for strengthening occupational health and safety laws, but in other regards it was all very sad, because most of the men killed were on their lunch break. But what the Westgate is most famous for is being the site of one of the most climactic climaxes in the history of the Australian trade union movement. First, they brought you the 8-hour day, aka the 40-hour week. Then, on September 21st, 2019, one of the most stirring moments in the ongoing fight to stick it to the man. Sorry, September 2021. My bad. Members of the construction industry were protesting the existence of a virus called COVID-19. But as the angry mob reached the summit of the Westgate Bridge, bringing the city to both its knees and a standstill, and as they claim the bridge as their own, in what can only be described as a Pyrrhic victory, instead of choosing the Angels or Midnight Oil or even John Farnham's You're the Voice as their anthem, as most bogans would, they chose instead as their battle cry Daryl Braithwaite's Horses from the album of the same name, throwing the city into a state of utter confusion. I mean, why? Daryl Braithwaite's Horses. Maybe it just happened to be on Triple M at that moment. Who knows? And who cares? Because now not only does Braithwaite reside as a perennial in yacht rock canon, he's also the voice of industrial relations and disgruntlement, which is only fitting. That was Daryl Braithwaite's Horses. Coming up in the next hour, back-to-back Barnsies. Ultimately, and fortunately, better angels and the police prevailed. And the pandemic continued unabated, as did our journey upstream. We'll go riding on the horses, yeah. Way up in the sky, little guy. And if you fall, you're going home in the back of a divvy van, 'cause they're policemen with caps can spray, yeah. With all that industrial strife behind us, the river rolls on, but in the other direction, past industrial landscapes, each more resplendent in its bucolic, verdant capitalism. Perhaps, if you look closely, you can even see some late-stage capitalism. That's Webb Dock. That's the busiest seaport in Australia. So if you live in Australia and have ever bought anything from Temu or Aldi or Costco, that cinnamon-scented mindfulness candle holder, foam mahogany-handled 18-piece cutlery set, 24-litre cans of fruits of the forest flavoured almond milk, Hasidic Christmas decorations, or cheap Chinese drone that didn't work, it probably arrived in the country here. Encore! Couple of quick selfie shots, and then it was under Westgate Bridge and its grandiose sense of relatively uneventful history. And onwards to Docklands, home of the Melbourne Boat Show every year, which is a shame, except it's in Docklands, so who cares? Also in Docklands, you'll find the ill-fated and now defunct Star Observation Wheel, a recently bankrupted 4-star harbourside seafood restaurant, and Marvel Stadium, and what a marvel it is. If you're going to build a stadium for people to watch Australian rules football, why not sell the naming rights to an American film studio owned by Disney that makes comic book adaptations? I can see the logic there. This is what we came to see. As you can see by the letterforms on her hull, this is Medallia, an Imica 60 foiling monohull, recently skippered by Pip Hare in the 10th edition of the Vendée Globe Race, a race held every 4 years and dubbed the Everest of the Seas. What these boats lack in pretty hull lines, they more than make up for in boat speed. Medallia was dismasted in a blow 700 nautical miles south of us in the Southern Ocean, and Pip cleverly jury-rigged her so she could safely return to port. And she documented her journey on both YouTube and Facebook. And if you don't believe me, you can Google it. Okay, so we've done what we've come here to do. So just like Martin Sheen and Timothy Bottoms at the end of Apocalypse Now, or Kurtz in the final chapter of Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, or even John Wayne halfway through John Ford's The Searchers, or Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy in Fury Road, or Samwise Gamgee and Frodo Baggins at the end of Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, when those giant eagles finally showed up, posing the question, why didn't they just fly to Mordor in the first place? Because movie is the answer. It was time to turn around and head home, past some more ships, and then another one, past Webb Dock, which was now on the other side of the boat, under the Westgate Bridge, which remained overhead, motoring now because we had a headwind. And then onwards, downstream, back to the marina, to tuck Peter Robin back to bed. Next time on Peter Robin, enough of this river nonsense, we go back out in the open water and take talented ingenue Diana Glenn out for a jaunt around St Kilda, Sandringham and Brighton.
Are there sharks in this bit?
And because she's Greek, or at least half Greek, I fry up a batch of calamari and we talk about ancient Greek philosophy and Vangelis, who was the only Greek composer we could think of.
That's a shot of your iPhone.
Well, yours is too.
And I ask her, amongst other things, because she's half Greek, whether or not she at least pays some tax. Does she?
No, I'm like a really lazy actor.
Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell.